Hey there, welcome to WikiWeek 7. That means we're winding down, we're approaching the finish line, and there's just a couple of things for us to wrap up. So last week was peer reviews, and I'm going to show you briefly where those are and what to do with them, and also give you a couple of tips moving forward. Just briefly, if you go to our timeline for this week, you will see that it has been updated, and you might notice something else, but I won't tell you quite yet. So this week, we're going to try to do all of our edits, take into account all of the peer feedback, all of Brianda's feedback, put it all together, make improvements. That's the whole goal this week, is make improvements to the biographies. Make them stronger, make them better, make them definitely look them over. Like, are we making a case for notability for our person? How is this all going to work together so that when we publish it, probably it'll go. Like, we can't guarantee anything, but we're trying to make a strong case that our guy is worth, or gal is worth, being in Wikipedia. And from what I've seen, you guys are doing a pretty good job on that end. And so you're going to make edits this week. You're also going to start planning for the final part of the project. And we'll get into that just a little bit. And then you're going to submit your revised draft for review, hopefully by Friday. Try to get all the peer review updates all in by Friday. And then the weekly reflection will end up week 7. Now, what I decided to do for next week, because there was so much stuff crammed into next week, because you have to publish, you have to make sure it all goes right, you have to do any final edits or improvements or whatever. And then I was also going to have you do the final project to have that all, but that's a lot for one week. So what I did is I just added another week. We'll finish this up the Thanksgiving week, actually. And in our last week 9, that's when, now that everything's published, you get a chance to take a breath. That's when you're going to do your final reflections and project write-up. So we'll talk about that in a bit. So as always, look through here step by step. This is going to give you all the information that you need, but I'm going to talk about this particular piece here. What I want to do is use the timeline to look at week 9. Now, keeping in mind, some of the stuff there is still under construction a little bit, but if you go to the timeline, you'll notice now there is a week 9. So I'm going to jump to week 8. Week 8 will have all the stuff you need for approve, then move. Like, don't just move it. There's a tutorial there, a training there for how to do that, but it has to be approved. So that's what week 8 is going to be about, getting all that done. And then the final biography. Okay, so we're going to go do, part I'm going to jump down to is this video presentation and project reflection. Keep in mind, it's a little bit under construction, but it'll give you an idea of what we're looking for. So in that week 9, there'll be 3 things. There'll be a reflection, written reflection piece, there'll be a video demonstration piece, and there'll be a team peer review of where you make some comments about how you all work well together as a team, what contributions you made, what contributions other people on your team made, so that I get an inside look at how your team dynamic worked. And all of these activities are individual. So week 9 is not a teamwork week, it's an individual week. Everybody does their own work, all right? So let me jump back up to the top. Actually, let me just go back to home and let's talk about this feedback. So you have 3 different levels of feedback, basically. You're going to see feedback from Brianda. You're going to see peer feedback, peer reviews, which will include what we did in Zoom last week. And you might even see feedback from other Wikipedians, because this is all open. If you look at the link for your biographies, they're on Wikipedia. They're just in a place called Draft Space. So they're not fully published yet. But people can wander around in there, and it has happened where somebody makes a comment and says, hey, this is really good, but maybe try this. So who knows, you might get that. We also have the editing Wikipedia. It's got an entire section about revise based on your feedback. So make sure you read through pages 12 and 14 to give you an idea for what they're looking for. But let's look exactly at what we're talking about. So I'm going to go in order here. So Brianna left on every group a link to a Google document. And you have edit abilities, or you should. If you don't, contact me. You have edit abilities on here, and they're all basically in the same template. So let me show you what you're looking for. And you'll definitely want to take advantage of the document outline because that will help you jump to different sections. So I'll leave that open. So there's some general information about what this feedback's all about. And then there's a general checkoff list. So everybody has this. This is the final before we think it's ready to go to main space. So when you submit it to her this week, you're saying, we think all this stuff's been checked off. Now I'm going to actually look at your document to make sure all of these things are checked and done. So definitely look at all of these. And when you've done something, just in the box, put your initial. Okay, so we know who did it. Because as a team, different people will do different things. Okay, so there's a whole list of things that are just general. All right, that you just want to look over. I mean, things like this one, titles like Doctor or Mister are not a thing on Wikipedia, so just get rid of those. You just say their name. It's just little stuff like who would know, right? But that's part of what we're learning. So we'll go through this section, the general feedback, and then you're going to have specific feedback about your biography. So she'll make some comments in this From Brianda section, and then we've broken this down into the categories: lead section, early life and education, career and research. She'll customize this kind of based on whatever sections you actually have. She'll make some very specific feedback here. Read the feedback, and then check, in progress if you're working on it, completed, if it's done, again, put your initials. And then there's a final part. Good thing this is one long page, right? The peer feedback checklist. This is for you to use because in your peer feedbacks, people are going to make suggestions. And if there's a suggestion that you want to implement or you feel it needs to be done, and Brianda might have already caught it up above, so if she catches it up there, don't put it down here. But this is just for you to keep track, your team to keep track of what changes we're making. I only put 3 spaces, but it's easy enough if you go down to the bottom and hit tab a couple of times. It's easy enough to add more spaces or insert rows. So that's how you're going to use this document. This is a worksheet document. And we want to see everything checked off and done. And then that you take your peer feedback and just make a list and add to this. So you have all of your feedback work all in one spot. Everybody can go to this in your team and use it. The other thing I posted a link to was last week in Zoom, we reviewed all of the biographies where there was information to review. And so I've reorganized this, and we did this as teams in Zoom. So this was kind of a mixed group, not individual reviews, people working together. And a really good template for this, I thought that this group, several of the groups did a good job. This one just happens to be up at the top. What's good, lead paragraph, clear structure, balanced sections, neutral content, reliable sources, general comments. So there's a lot of actionable information here. So for your team Ryan Emanuel, you want to come here and see what people wrote. Each team has its own couple of pages. Okay, there's at least 2 slides. A couple of teams have 4 slides, but you can use this just to jump down to your section of the workbook for your team. So where do you find the actual peer reviews? The thing where everybody did 2 of last week. So where you find that? Well, there's 2 places. There's one main place, articles I will create. Reviews, there's a whole section here, reviews. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reviews that got posted where if you click those, it'll pull up the page, the peer review page, you can read what people said. Now, on a couple of these, some people, mostly because I said so before I fixed the video, some people actually put their reviews on the Sandbox Draft Biography talk page. So if you don't see one here, like if it's a red link, that means it hasn't been done there. Go take a look and see if they put stuff on your talk page instead. Because like I said, there's a couple of people that did that, mostly because I goofed and said that's where it should go. So you guys want to go through all of this, and you might even want to just split this up. Everybody take 2, kind of break out what the feedback is, stick it on your feedback document down here in the peer feedback checklist section. And then let me go back here. And then just start working through it. Do not wait until you all can meet at the same place at the same time. I would say get in there, and if you pick it, somebody else, has to pick something else. So you pick the things you can pick. But if you all wait till the end of the week, remember, we want to try to get this done by Friday. And most of the things I'm seeing are just some minor stuff that'll tighten up your biography, that will clean it up a little bit, that will add some good ideas. So make sure you read through all that feedback. That's our main goal for this week. That's mostly all that we're doing is how to do that. Now let me go back down here because there is a training, I think. I should know this because I looked it up. Step 1, step 2. So here's how to submit it, the final review for draft, your weekly reflection. There's your link. So I was mistaken. There's a training next week about how to move it to main space. All right. So check all your feedback, document it also. You have a checklist, your own checklist on your team feedback page, and then just start knocking stuff out. If you only have 30 minutes, pick one thing, maybe two things, and take care of it. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait to coordinate the best time for everybody. We're at the end point here. And so we need to get it done because we want to try to get these moved over next week so that we have some time to see if there's any issues. Because sometimes there'll be some problems and usually they're easy to fix, but we want to make sure we have, we want to make sure we have time to do that. So that's what's on the docket this week. I hope you guys have a good week. Send me messages on Discord if you have questions about any of this. Post it on your team channel. You can tag me, you can tag Brianda, you can tag both of us. Somebody will get back to you on that. And it's looking good.